All right, back with Ken Reid here in Wolfville and Rogers Hometown Hockey. The story of John McIntyre.
John McIntyre, beautiful guy. My friend Scott Landry, he played soccer here back in the 90s, and I used to come down to Wolfville visit, and Johnny McIntyre and the boys would come up to Pictou for Lobster Carnival, and John McIntyre was just a beautiful guy from Cole Harbour. Always had a smile on his face, except for in his soccer photo, of course. You had to look tough. He was the captain of the team. He was a former conference all-star. In 2004, John and his wife, Renee, who you see here, they were killed in a car accident 3 weeks after they were married. And John just left an impression on everyone. They've retired his number here. And here at Acadia, they've set up the John McIntyre Motion Research Lab. It's about preventing sports injuries. They've named the lab in Johnny's honor. The boys here that played soccer with Johnny back in the day, they have a golf tournament every year, raise a scholarship for a soccer player. So John was just a really, really special guy. And it's so nice that his name still lives on through something he loved so much, which was sports.
That's fantastic, Ken. Here's a great story on how they've taken all that knowledge and expertise from the classroom and put it into the arenas.
And Sidney Crosby is doubled over, heading to the bench in some pain.
Miller is still down on the ice, and they're going to have a look at him. I'm sure he strained his neck and his back, just about everything.
As Sharp is down, can't get up on his own power right now.
Connor McDavid getting up slowly, holding his shoulder as he heads to the bench.
It's really been created out of a desire to reduce the crazy prevalence of injuries in sport today, which is epidemic. It's a massive economic hemorrhage for organizations. You think the average NBA team spends about $10 million on soft tissue management of preventable injuries, and same thing with the NHL.
As I was planning the lab, I really wanted to make sure I got technologies that would not only help me with my research, but also would benefit our varsity athletics program. We're fortunate in the sense that this lab is located in our athletics facility with all 10 sports teams and our kinesiology program. So we're not just focusing on one sport. Like, you know, we could take and analyze basketball, volleyball, rugby, soccer, and the idea is to use what we learned to try to either improve or enhance the prevention programs that are out there.
The coolest part is I have a personal interest in injury prevention, working as kind of a student athletic therapist. Just being able to use all these new high-tech tools in itself is pretty exciting. That's good.
When I came to Acadia, we didn't have a motion capture lab, and that was kind of a dream of mine, that we could provide exposure to students across campus that might be interested in this research area.
So the motion capture technology is probably, in terms of the lab itself, it's the holy grail. That will give us sort of a 3D representation of the body within the space of the lab. We're collecting subjects which are 8 to 25 years old and basically running them through some motion analysis software to find if they have any particular movement patterns which might be cause of an injury down the road.
Everything feel good?
Yeah.
Cool. What's unique about a lot of the technology we have in the lab is we could take that motion capture system and move it out onto the ice. Today, what we saw on the ice was using the technologies that we use to simulate a game situation, our timing reaction system, but using that to test the performance of, you know, young Brady, who was a Major Bantam player for the Valley team, and then Jeff Shimitz, who's on our varsity team.
When we look at Brady initially, we see maybe his motor patterns or his movements are a little less refined. And when we time him, we see that his sprint times are a little bit slower, of course. But we also see the basic movements between Jeff and Brady are very similar. So they both have a long stride. They both keep a very low center of balance. And we can see how that kind of builds into a varsity athlete like Jeff if he's kept on the right path by using these different tools to measure performance. One of the best things is knowing that you're going to collect all this information, and then from that hopefully find out a whole bunch of information that can be applied to either further people's performance or prevent people from getting injured, and that just in itself is nice to think about.
Scott Landry, who we saw in that piece, smartest guy I know, grew up with Scott. Just a fantastic guy, does a lot for Acadia here. We met his dad, Charlie, today, quizzed John Rocket Richard, and it's just a great community here. Charlie even helped set up the lab, did a little construction work for Scott, so it's just a great thing, and we're so happy that Johnny Mac's name can live on.